Hello and welcome to Judgement Day with me, Mark Kearney, here on the Bhoycie Bus. It's a time of week where you get to ask me questions, put me on the spot and ask for my stupid opinions. And it's the first time I've done it in about 2 or 3 weeks now, so just thought we'd crack on and do a wee kind of impromptu Wednesday night bus fees. And we'll get the first question up once Bhoycie tucks into his egg salad in the background there, if you bring it up. Thanks for that, boys. This is from Chris M. You need to excuse my eyes. My eyes are terrible, so I'll do my best reading these out. Do you think more mainstream media outlets should be banned from Celtic Park due to their obvious establishment leanings? Well, Chris, I've been quite consistent. When Rangers were doing this sort of stuff, I was dead against it. I thought it was trying to mute certain sections of the media, and I think it creates a wee bit of mistrust between the other fan bases throughout Scotland and the media itself. Because when Rangers were doing it, I thought the sycophantic media they were getting wasn't enough for them. But this just seemed to be a bit different. This was actually on the back of, I think it was Tom English. He was calling Brendan Rodgers shameless and other names. I don't think Celtic took it very well. And seemingly the background behind it is Celtic had complained about this sort of stuff before and it was just ignored, and we can't allow that. I think Celtic have got to create a stance. I remember back in 2000, 2001, I think Hugh Keeves was banned for Celtic Park, and I think he had a long history of just saying some shambolic things about Celtic, and Dermot Desmond had enough of the guy, and I don't really think he's been back much since. Know that he's really in the media anymore, but he still likes to put his wee specky nose in every now and again and his crazy opinions, a bit like myself, and I don't mind that. I don't mind reporters being harsh on Celtic, because Celtic fans, we're the most scrutinising of our club than anybody. There's no set of supporters, I don't think, out there that watches their club as much as the Celtic fans do, and I think that's healthy. We watch everything. We watch the finances. We watch what's going on in the park. Even Celtic are winning, we are scrutinising performances and scrutinising decisions the club make. Both ethically and every other way that you can think of. And I don't think this is any different. I think the Celtic fans have noticed the BBC for a while now have been really harsh on Celtic, and not just in a sporting way. Any way they can, they'll find a spin to make Celtic seem like they're different from anybody else in a bad light. You know, we've seen like headlines when Celtic have won 3-4-0 and it's Celtic scraped by Livingston. Rangers have got a last-minute winner against Aberdeen, and it's Rangers' cruise to victory via Aberdeen. And we laugh at half as Celtic fans, but it's got to the point now where we're just fed up with it. And I think Celtic have done the right call here, made the right call, because one thing's for sure, we're not expecting sycophantic media, and we're not expecting media to bow to the club, but what we expect is a fair crack of the whip. And Celtic know they're a big fish, you know what I mean? And anybody will want to take a bite at it, that's fine, but you can't have media outlets calling their manager shameless. That's for fans to talk about in pubs and on forums like this. That's fine, but no a broadcaster, no one is supposed to be impartial, especially as the BBC claims to be. Well, they're not that impartial when they're hiding people behind cloaks of very dubious activities are dangerous now. But no, I wouldn't want to see it being too much, too many bans dished out. I think Celtic should lodge complaints legitimately. If they don't get any proper answers or any answers that they feel are the right in the right manner, Celtic should take action. But I think banning them should be the very last course of action, because we don't want to be coming across to these arseholes that were perturbed by them or were flattened because of them. You know what I mean, Chris? I think Celtic as a football club are above that. I think we're not an establishment football club, so we can't really be all that surprised when the establishment media like the BBC do anything they can to go against us. And I salute the club for banning dickheads like Tom English and guys just like him. The less of the guys at Celtic Park, the better. But banning the actual broadcast itself, I think, is probably detrimental to the club and how much it's publicised. And we've all seen Rangers the last couple of seasons. They didn't get any post-match interviews and etc. On the BBC Sports package. And that's even the home matches when they're getting proper commentary packages. And that's not good for the fan who's maybe missed a match or is working away and can only get audio broadcasts of it, and he's not getting the experience because the club's banned the channel, so to speak. So I don't want to see it happening, Chris, unless it was total the last option. But folk like the BBC, I think they're a shower of shit, mate, to be honest with you. I think they're long since Celtic haters, and do you know what, we hate them too. Hopefully they find a solution, one that involves Tom English being no closer than 500 metres for any Celtic game ever again. That would suit me fine. As soon as he goes back to watching rugby, the better. I think the guy's a grade A arsehole. Thanks for that question, Chris. Next up, thanks for that, Russell. This is from Kman208. What a name. Are you still expecting 2 or 3 Rodgers signings that will put a stamp on the squad, and in what positions? To put a stamp on the squad, sorry. Of course. I don't think we've saw a signing yet that belongs to Brendan Rodgers. And do you know what? I'm in 2 minds, because he's only been in the door with the squad 2 weeks, and actually only 3 days if you count the fact that most of the first team squad only joined up with him on Monday, considering all of them had extra leave through international breaks, etc. So I dare say he's going to assess the squad. I mean, we were all surprised when guys like James Forrest and Carl McGregor and Scott Brown found a second lease of life under him the last time. So he will want to assess. It might be, James, I've said before that even David Turnbull, a guy I don't like, I mean, there might be a future at Celtic for some of these players. Although David Turnbull, I mean, I know a guy in the BBC, funnily enough, a cameraman, who told me that we need to record him on a time-lapse camera. That's how slow he is at running. And I don't want to see Celtic doing that road. You know what I mean? I want to see Celtic really push forward and go for that next level of player. And that sounds a wee bit surprised when Daizen Maeda came in to get a 5-year contract, because great, secure your assets. If there's been interest for that guy during the summer, I'd be a bit surprised, but great, because it increases the value of the club, and as I say, that they're protecting themselves. But when I seen the 5-year contract, I thought to myself, where are we going in that side of the pitch? You know what I mean? Is this the first team? Is this the first 11 players? Is this Rodgers securing him to be his first 11 player? You know, I'd be very surprised. I hope no, mate, because I think we need to push forward and move beyond guys like Daizen Maeda. He does a great job for Celtic. His work ethic is unbelievable, and so many goals he put in last season, especially Easter Road and the one at Ibrox. I'll never forget the goals. I thought they were excellent, and he played a key role in Celtic's treble last season. The way he came back for the World Cup, I thought was phenomenal. He did die off latterly, but I thought he was great. But I think a left-sided winger is one that's crucial. You know what I mean? I think if we're going to be playing these overlapping fullbacks again with Greg Taylor, I think might get a few months to prove himself under Rodgers. I don't think he'll cast him aside unless somebody like Tierney comes in. So you're going to have to put him with somebody who's very capable of playing that position. You know what I mean, and can even run off him. And I don't know if Daizen Maeda can do that, mate. I think Daizen Maeda is the kind of guy who plays well with the ball in front of him. I don't see him as a guy who can carry the ball a long period, a long distance, beating players and making a good cross. You know what I mean? I think if anything, he should be a backup winger for Celtic. I don't think he's a starting 11 player. No under Brendan Rodgers anyway. I think the previous manager squeezed every bit of juice out of him, every bit of talent he could out of him, and I think that's a position that we will need to strengthen. I also think a striker came on. I think a striker is definitely something I would look at. You know what I mean? I think Kyogo is the man for me. He's been brilliant for Celtic. 2 years he's been here. I think he's been. You get a lot of folk that want to say he's the best since ... He's just Kyogo. No point comparing him to anybody else. He's certainly not in the top 2 or 3 in the last couple of decades. There's so many players that are above him. You know what I mean? But there's for this period in time, he is the talisman. He's been really good for Celtic, especially in the derby matches last season. I think he got about 5 goals, and he scored crucial goals for Celtic. You know, with guys like Scott McDonald, who I think most of his goals were like the 3rd and 4th and 5-0 finishes. You know what I mean? Didn't score loads and loads of important goals, although there is ones that stick in the memory. One against Man U, a couple at Celtic Park against Rangers, and one at Ibrox. There is memorable goals for these guys, but I think all in all, Kyogo proved last season that he's a big player in big games, and we need that at Celtic. We don't need strikers that can score 2 against Livingston and a couple of goals in the League Cup against Partick Thistle. We need guys that can do it in the big, intense matches, guys that can score goals in Europe. Kyogo just fell short of that last season, but I think he'll in for that a day, but I still believe we need somebody to challenge him. And do you know what? There's no point of Celtic fans getting their hair on fire at the fault of Celtic bringing in somebody to challenge Kyogo, because what's better for the Celtic fans is competition for places. If you bring in a player that's better than Kyogo, that's great for the players. That's Kyogo's fault, or Kyogo's cause for concern is what players come in next. You know what I mean? He's just signed a 5-year contract. He's probably in the most comfortable positions that he's ever been in as a professional. He's probably get himself content that he might retire at top level at Celtic, at least, and then move back to Japan again. So he's comfortable, and I think Celtic shouldn't be comfortable. I think Celtic should move on and look for the next level of player. Also, another position I feel like we still need somebody else in that central midfield. I think for too long now we're relying on Callum McGregor to play out of position, albeit he's been playing very well in the number 6, because he's so flexible. Callum McGregor, it's unbelievable, but we've still no solved that number 6 issue. You know what I mean? I really don't think we have. I mean, there's Awata, who I was really looking forward to seeing, and I'm still looking forward to seeing Awata. I think there's definitely an exciting prospect there. You know, not a fullback. God, say you better have a less Awata than him at fullback, but is a centre back, but as a number 6, you know, I mean, I think he's definitely got a place at Celtic, but I still believe that we have to strengthen that position. I mean, I don't know who that is, and whether that's a Scott McTominay we've heard mentioned. You know what I mean? He's a bit slower on the ball, I believe, with a bit about him, just to get my wee bit of bearings about the guy, because I've not really seen him play before. I don't watch Scotland, and I don't watch Man U, to be honest with you. I'd rather watch ice melt at the freezer than watch Man U, so I've only watched a couple of minutes here and there. Scotland goals, you know what I mean? And for what a gala, he's seemingly a good player, but he's very slow. But that's okay, as long as it's in that central midfield where he can cope with that, especially in Europe. Celtic sometimes play the ball too quick, you know what I mean? And I think Celtic should sometimes just gather momentum by playing it through the back and building up the way Rodgers used to do, rather than just hitting the ball as fast as possible and just try to get in areas. I think Celtic have been come unstuck a few times in Europe just by trying to play the Celtic way, and I don't think it works. I think there comes a time now where Celtic need to say, look, if we want to progress in Europe, we're going to have to find a hybrid of the Celtic way and modern football in Europe, and we've got to find that middle ground, or you end up as Celtic have been not won a game in the last 20 years in knockout football. I think Rodgers is a man to do it. I mean, I think one thing about Rodgers' time before, and it's been spoken about ad nauseum, but one of the aspects that I don't think was picked up was the level of competition he was up against. He was playing Bayern Munich, PSG, Man City, you know what I mean, Gladbach, you know what I mean, decent teams here. This isn't Cannon Fodder, this isn't Mugs, this isn't Michelin and Bodo Glimt that was beating us by 5 and 6 and 7 goals. You know, I mean, this is proper teams he was up against. I mean, and a lot of these games again, with guys like Gamboa and Doris De Vries playing for us. You know what I mean, and no all to do with Brendan Rodgers. By the way, we all know that the board's position on strengthening back then, it was just shambolic, and I think these things will have been ironed out a wee bit, or I hope they have been, because Brendan Rodgers surely wouldn't have come back with the same circumstances, or at least the same level of commitment to the squad. I don't think it would have. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next chapter is for Celtic. I actually think that requires more than 2 or 3 signings, Rodgers' style. I think Celtic as a club might make a couple of more signings, you know what I mean, like Tillio and Holm. I think they're Celtic signings. I also believe that the contract extension for Maeda was, but I don't think Rodgers has touched the market just yet. I think he will hopefully see there's some activity happening in the next week or so. I was kind of hoping we see something this week. I thought I would, by the end of this week, we'd maybe have a player or 2 in, just to kind of appease myself more than anything. But I think Celtic should bring in some players soon, because Celtic fans will get restless. Let's get one thing straight here. We can't just keep telling everybody who mentions it to us that, oh, calm down, it's 3 weeks away before the season starts. We've been used to the last couple of years Celtic getting players in so fast. So it does look like Celtic are reverting to type, albeit you have to factor in the fact that Brendan Rodgers is just in the door and he will want to assess that squad's depth and quality, and I think that's only fair. And a guy who's methodical the way he is, I think that'll probably be his first protocol, is to assess what he's got before strengthening. And that's, for me, that's probably a good thing, although I want to see Messi sign Demora, please, and make it Demora, because I'm too frustrated. Right, next question, please, Russell. This is for Seamus Weatherall. Good name. Do you reckon all our top players are getting new contracts and higher wages to bring them in line with big players coming in, so there's no discontent? Nah, Seamus, I think that's a kind of fairy tale make believe scenario that we've all kind of got our head into, thinking that it just adds a wee bit of, it gives reason behind the 5-year contract to Callum McGregor. I think the 5-year contract to Callum McGregor was a reward for the guy's commitment to Celtic. I reckon he's probably given a good pay rise. No 60 grand that some people have said. I just don't think, and much as I think Celtic can afford it, I don't think that's happening. I really don't. It's maybe been a few grand a week. And when you're adding another 2 years onto somebody's contract, you're securing them with the knowledge that they're probably getting an extra couple of £1 million on top of that, with probably a guaranteed testimonial at £1.5 million, £2 million. So, which is tax free, I believe, if you have a testimonial. So I believe it'll be rewards for Callum McGregor, but I think it will just be Celtic rewarding the guy, tying him down, and just creating a right good bond between. Don't forget, Rodgers, one of his first things he did was get Callum McGregor out to his holiday home and speak to him, get his thoughts on the squad. So he's straight away, Callum McGregor's been in Rodgers thinking that basically, you're going to help me progress this club forward. And the guy's a phenomenal football player. He's a brilliant captain. One I didn't see being the captain and what he is. I thought he would be a great player for Celtic. Captain, no, I didn't. But he has absolutely brought us on to the next level. I think Scott Brown was so hard to replace, but for Celtic to replace him with the quality we've got, I think we've got lucky. Not in the conventional sense. I just think Celtic fans will feel lucky that we've got a captain of that ability, and he's definitely a leader on the park, and I think he's very rarely in the press, and I think that was a reward for him. I don't think Celtic will pro him up to 50, 60 grand a week so we can sign McTominay on 56 and there be no discontent. I think if there's any player in the squad or dressing room who is annoyed at the guy next to him and earning their money, then they're in the wrong dressing room as far as I'm concerned. Celtic isn't about the guy next to you is earning. If he's at a better level than you, he deserves to be in a higher wage structure. I don't think Ronaldo was on the same money as Chris Smalling at Man U, you know what I mean? Or I don't think Benzema was on the same money as a youth player at Real Madrid. No, it's totally different ends of the spectrum, but that's what happens. Anthony Ralston's on a lot less money than Rio Hatate. I would imagine, you know what I mean? There's different. I think the captain, there's players that are on more money than the manager in most clubs. And the captain should be one of the highest earners, if not the highest earner, right? And that might be something to do with the contract renewal, but I don't think Celtic have said, oh, we want to sign players of a higher calibre, so we need to bring in Callum and tell him, look, Callum, there's going to be guys coming in on 55 grand a week, so we need to give you 60. I don't think it works like that. I don't think it's ever been put out there by anybody of note that that's Celtic's structure or Celtic's plan. Well, I think Celtic are just scared to set a precedent and give players big money, because you start giving them more 40 grand a week, then they all want it. You know what I mean? And every player that comes in wants 41, wants 42, and it goes up and up and up. And before you know it, it's out of control. Celtic, I think, this window, I think we've all been set up for a wee bit to come falling back down to earth a wee bit here, because I'm seeing there's these mystical figures of 30 and 35 million. That's never Celtic. To be fair to Celtic board, they've never come out and said anything along the lines, and they've never made the murmurs in the media that Celtic are going to spend massive money. They've put it to their usual pals that Celtic are going to back the manager, and I think they will. But we brought in £25 million for Jota. We've spent $3 million on these two young players. I don't see Celtic spending more money than what they brought in. I don't see Celtic spending another £22 million. I really don't. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, but I think we might get I think we might get a £5, £6, £7 million player maybe. Just one of them, just to kind of bulk up the first 11 and get that bit of excitement amongst the fans. But I think I hope I'm wrong, but I just think we're getting ourselves in knots here thinking about Celtic signing guys for 13 and 14 million and getting guys on 50 grand a week, 60 grand a week. Celtic can afford that. There's no doubt in my mind Celtic can afford 2 or 3 players on that kind of money. But they'll just no date, mate. I just don't see. I think that Seamus. I think that Celtic normally, and it's been proven time and time again, Celtic will normally come out of a transfer window or even a season and profit. You know what I mean? It's the model they've got. I think Rodgers has been promised a few things at Celtic. Definitely a different structure and a different way of making transfers. But I don't think he's been offered £40 and £50 million to spend. I really don't. I think he's been offered like a different way of doing things and probably more of a say on the actual income rather than just the model it was before, where he was just maybe put two bad players in front of him and he was to pick the lesser of the bad player. You know what I mean? We've all seen that with guys like Toljan coming in and guys like I've lost count of the utter dumblers that came in under Rodgers, you know what I mean? And I don't think they were all Rodgers signings. I thought they were majority of them were Peter Lawwell signings. I think, to be honest with you, I think the elephant in the room was Peter Lawwell. I think Peter Lawwell was part of the promise that he wasn't going to be in his way. And we've not saw the action being taken by Celtic yet, but I expect when Celtic, and when I say I expect, I mean as a Celtic fan, I expect Celtic to start making big calls very soon and start getting players out and start getting players in. Players getting out isn't for us to worry about as Celtic fans. We shouldn't be sitting thinking we need to sell players before we buy players in. We've got enough money in that squad and in that bank balance just now. We could buy as many players as we wanted within limits, you know what I mean? And I think Celtic need to start doing that, and I think they should be doing that as of at least this weekend. Just start getting the ball rolling and getting the fans excited because we're all buzzing just now. Don't let that buzz fall. Don't let that buzz come down anymore. Just keep the Celtic fans on the crest of a wave. We just want to treble this and improve the squad. As we're sitting here just now on July the 12th, we are a worse team than maybe we were on the last day of the season because we've lost probably a star man, or at least one of our star men. That's a fact. I'm not trying to be negative about that. That's just the fact. We brought in a better manager, I believe, but as a squad, we're worse off. So we need to get to the next level, and that requires Celtic investing in the squad and investing as big as possible. I don't think we're going to see. I think Seamus. I think if you stick to my mindset, well, let Celtic surprise you. You'll be all right this window. But if we're expecting 50, 60 grand a week and guys for Man U and this boy for £13 million for Norway, whatever it is, I think we might be a bit let down. I think it's just let this window roll and see where it goes. I think Celtic might surprise us and hopefully they come out and gives an absolute bell to their signing. That might be on the cards. I think a few of us are hoping that. Well, we're all hoping that, but I think a few of us really think that. I just don't think that McGregor's contract was anything more than a reward for all his hard work and nothing more. And thanks for your question, Seamus. I think that's just about wraps us up. There's a text saying, I'm going to be honest with you. I said on the end of season pod I did that I think he's away, and I stand by that. But we've sold Jota, so if the club sell Hatate, they better find something. They better make up to the fans. I think if the fact that Jota's away might just persuade the club to try and keep him as much as possible. But if the offer comes in for a big team or even a team in England, then I think he's away. I think he's already stated that he wants to go to the Premier League. So I'm not going to label this one out for you, San Fran Celtic. I think, in my opinion, if he starts the first league game of the season, I'll be very, very happy. But if I had a free bet, I wouldn't back it, mate. I just think there's a lot of time to go. There's like so many days, like 30 days left or something to the window closes, and if teams are not looking at Hatate and realising how good he is, and there's something wrong with him, I hope they're all blind and miss him because he's one of the most exciting players I've seen at Celtic in many years. But I don't know, mate. I'm a bit realistic on this one, San Fran. So, sorry, mate. In my opinion, he goes, but I'm hoping to God that he stays. And I think that's the last question on this. How is your kitchen so clean? Mate, I don't like any crumbs or anything. The minute I see something and I wash it, sometimes I wash it before it even touches the table. I don't know why. It's just something I always do and keep the place. And it's got to smell nice, no matter what happens, as long as it smells nice and all. And no rubbish, no dishes in the sink. I hate that and all. Any dishes, get them put away straight away, guys. That's my wee hint for you. Right. So I think that's the end of this pod for tonight. Don't forget piesports.com, 12.5% off your pies. Use the code BUS1888. It's July 12th, but don't let the dirty bastards get you down. Glasgow's green and white. Want to Celtic. Thanks, guys.